Welcome to Tech Leader. It's where we delve into real world experiences and strategic high signal insights straight from enterprise tech leaders. Today, we have the immense privilege of speaking with Sujatha Iyer. She is the head of AI security at ManageEngine, Zoho Corp. Sujata's extensive, experience, particularly in productionizing AI for enterprise security needs over the past decade, that places her at the forefront of the critical challenges and the transformations that face, the C-suite today. So we aim, at Tech Leader to bring our audience, primarily CTOs and chiefs of AI, senior technology decision makers, those unfiltered breakdowns and strategic insights directly from those who implement generative AI at, on the front lines, the edge cases, the challenges, the opportunities. So we want to understand not just what's happening, but how leaders are tackling, similar challenges, evaluating ROIs, and implementing AI solutions at the grassroots. So I'll begin with my first question, Sujata. Once again, really delighted to have you on board. And I've been really looking forward to this conversation with you since quite some time now.
Great. Yeah.
Perfect. So, Sujata, in your role as the head of AI security at ManageEngine, you sit at the powerful intersection of two of the most pressing questions that face CIOs and boardrooms today. Are we secure? Are we ready for AI? Uh, those are critical questions, really. Very nuanced, very comprehensive. With over a decade of hands-on experience productionizing AI for enterprise security, could you walk us through, that specific pivotal moment, or a specific project where rising cybersecurity threats kind of directly converged with growing AI adoption, and a moment that compelled your team to innovate beyond traditional security paradigms, traditional security frameworks. So tell us about that, aha moment, that kind of truly changed your and your team's approach.
Perfect. So talking about security's adoption, um, traditionally security has been that one field which was ruled by rule-based systems. You had static thresholds. Security was just yet another checklist in most of the enterprise roadmap or something. But over the years, the attacks have risen. The nature of attacks, the sophistication has grown, and there's an audience who's much more cyber aware, who's much more security aware. They are much more digitally aware. Today's enterprise customers, they know the importance of data, the importance, the risk that comes with any attack. And the government across the globe, they're also pushing towards having security at the forefront. It is not just yet another checklist. So there's a lot of emphasis on privacy, on security, and enterprises have realized that any possible security mishap is not just resulting in a security incident, it's also putting a dent on their reputation, because nobody
Yeah.
wants to do business with an organization whose security posture is not that great. So I think a culmination of all of this, put enterprises in a state where it was good to have AI, enabling or augmenting the existing traditional security softwares. And given the fact that the attacks are much more sophisticated, like how AI is in the hands of people to better their lives, better their work. Similarly, AI is also in the hand of attackers who can use it to weave much more sophisticated attacks. So, like I always say, now that AI is also there in the hands of the attacker, they usually say, right? You put a thief to catch a thief. So you have AI driven attacks, use AI driven defenses too to your rescue.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense, and kind of reminds me of, that old saying that the best way to, protect it is to kind of hack it yourself. So that makes that yeah, absolutely makes sense. And we're really living in interesting times. And as you said, the threat landscape, it's like changing fast, by the day, if not by the hour. And in fact, I was going through a recent report, and it said, that the spending on mitigating cyber attacks alone is expected to kind of reach 10.5 trillion, US dollars by, I mean, by this year. And it's estimated that we are kind of approaching a space where the attacks would cumulatively reach an astounding 17 trillion in India alone by 2047, and that's a staggering number. So we're seeing those increasingly sophisticated attacks, as you said, deepfakes are being used, AI-driven phishing is being used. So, Sujata, how do you think enterprises protect their, digital assets in a space that's so rapidly evolving? You mentioned it's no longer optional. We are in the midst of a very exciting and very interesting, also very critical time, because data assets are growing. Every single second, data is the new oil. So how are traditional security approaches becoming obsolete, and what are the new strategies, perhaps AI driven, that organizations really need to adopt today to stay ahead, one step ahead of those AI powered threats?
Absolutely. Like you were saying, the last decade was all about process automation or digitization. So you had something in pen and paper. Let's take an example of BFSI sector. So a decade or a decade or two back, all your loan papers, home loan sanction documents, they were all printed documents. You had to go put it in a file. Now all of this is digitized, but it's such sensitive data that it shouldn't be, subject to any attack. Now coming back, now that data is the new oil, people have realized it is important to take a much more proactive defense than a reactive strategy. So let's take an example. Today, insider attack is one of the most difficult ones to encounter too with the traditional security solutions. So with insider attack, you have an employee who's very much part of an organization. They have very valid credentials. They know the rule book, so they can kind of play in between the lines and kind of by hook and crook do whatever damage they want by very well being inside the organization. So let's say there's an employee out there who's trying to, do an insider attack kind of activity by kind of exfiltrating the sensitive data files in the organization. Let's say it was a traditional security solution that was used to prevent such scenarios. It would be typically static thresholds or rule-based systems. So for example, let us say there is a print server and it has been configured with a static value of saying not more than 500 prints a day or a day is allowed, or there's an internal file server serving internal sensitive files, and there's a limit saying no more than 1,000 downloads a day. The reason they might have set some 1,000 downloads a day as the threshold is typically the downloads would have been in the range of 200 or 300, and they would have said okay, not more than 500 or 1,000. But if it's an insider attack, the employee would very well know that 500 is the limit or 1,000 is the limit. Even if they touch 499 or 999, they are going to get be unnoticed because it
Yeah.
is one less than 500 or one less than 1,000. But let's take an example of how AI could have helped here. So AI powered user entity behavior analysis systems, they kind of build a profile around what is the baseline normal, and they flag any deviations immediately. So let us say the baseline normal is usually around 300 downloads a day. Even if there's a 10% increase of, let's say, 330 or 340, the AI systems would be able to understand that, hey, there are like too many data transfers happening internally, or too many sensitive files are being accessed. There's a 10% surge. It's a good idea to probably, have an eye on that. With such proactive strategies, you're able to stop the attack right in the beginning, instead of letting everything happen, then figuring out who the bad actor was, and then taking the action. So this is the way enterprises which are equipped with AI, they're able to have a better security posture.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yes. And this the AI-driven makeover that you're talking about, where threat detection is met with a proactive response, the incident response is it's proactive rather than, being reactive as it used to be. That kind of changes the game altogether. And you also mentioned how user behavioral analysis kind of, elevates the game again, because AI is constantly, sensing how the sentiment changes at the back end and responding accordingly, with little human intervention. So yeah, you mentioned, we often hear about the journey from reactive IT operations to kind of proactive AI ops, as it's being called nowadays. So traditionally, IT teams would wait for an alert or an outage to happen, and then they would, rush to kind of fix it. So how is AI changing that story in enterprise IT administration specifically? So if you could, paint us a quick picture of what proactive AI ops really looks like at the back end, perhaps an example where AI predictions have prevented a major incident, or automated a routine firefighting task, allowing the team to focus on more higher value work, rather than getting absorbed in the nitty gritties. So more strategic work for the humans, freeing up freeing them up from the low level work that happens.
Absolutely. So AI ops is one of the most crucial segment of any enterprise, I would say. You have a lot of servers, you have a lot of infrastructure to monitor to, and like I said, you also have a lot of SLAs to adhere to. You can't sit on top of an outage. Take You don't have the luxury of time, especially when you have an enterprise outage happening. You'll have to figure it out immediately. You'll have to post the root cause in your social media handles, and it has to be at the earliest. You can't have customers screaming in social media saying, I have an outage with your service. That's not acceptable. And
Yeah,
if we look at how things generally are debugged with the IT administrators, they have a huge pile of alerts saying this was down, this had a critical issue, this was in a severe state. You have some thousands of events or alerts to debug, and it's going to be a humongous task to sit and sift through the pile of events. This is where AI powered root cause debugging comes in. So you can have AI find out anomalies at the earliest. So here AI can help you take a proactive stance. So let's say that there's an app server whose response time, let's say your application response time is spiking all through. Usually it usually takes around 3 milliseconds to respond to a request. And then there's a gradual surge that's happening. From 3, it's going to 5, then 10, then 20, and 50. Anomaly detection engines, they can tell you that, hey, there's a gradual surge, there's too much deviation from the baseline normal. So this can help you take a proactive stand right away. And now that anomaly detection engines are kind of giving you the insight on where it is possibly going wrong, the next level of help can come from root cause analysis engines that are powered by AI, that are powered by causality, that can tell you, hey, there's a surge in the application response time. Incidentally, your server has too many requests. The CPU usage is too high. So this could be the true causal chain that could potentially lead to an outage. And if there's an outage, this is the chance with which an outage can happen. And the models, it's important these models come with an explanation,
yeah,
because the prices, it's not about just saying there's an 80% chance of outage. It can't be a black box decision by AI. It has to come with an explanation, because see, in B2C, it's different. Let's say you have a recommendation algorithm in a social networking site. Person A and B know each other, B and C know each other. Let's say the recommendation engine decides to recommend person C as a friend to person A. In reality, A and C might not even know each other, but just because it is coming as a friend recommendation, it's not going to be a problem. But if the monitoring solution is going to tell you there's a 90% chance of outage, it has to come with an explanation. You can't just say it's a 90%. There's a lot of accountability that comes in there. So the anomaly detection engines powered by the root cause analysis, AI powered root cause analysis, they can immediately tell you that, this is an area of concern. This could be the probable root cause. It's good to have an idea, go back, debug, fix things. The root cause could be some configuration change that could have updated. You can always revert back to ensure there's no potential outage that could, possibly cost.
yeah. Well, that's very interesting. And in fact, you mentioned the root cause analysis, springing into action, and that makes me very interested into in knowing what really happens at the back end, because AI is really like an umbrella term, but there's so much going on at the back end. It's on that evolution. How do you decide where to kind of build specialized AI models for each platform versus kind of like a unified approach? So there's that distinction. For example, do you envision a convergence of capabilities, an AI system that can handle multiple IT anomalies, security threats, even business predictions together, rather than having a dozen of separate specialized models? So is this AI sprawl, so to say, a concern? And how might enterprises streamline multiple AI tools, if they have them, into one coherent strategy? Because it can kind of quickly spread with so much so many capabilities to handle.
Absolutely. So at ManageEngine, what we believe is we do the baseline AI model unification happens. So how we suggest we handle this, at least in our experience, how we see is you have a baseline AI model, and then you apply a domain knowledge. You enrich the AI results with domain knowledge. So for example, an anomaly detection engine is going to be common. It could be plugged in to find out anomalies in logins. For example, in UEBA, anomaly could be plugged in the AI ops system to find out any anomalies in your page load times or CPU usage. So the baseline algorithm or the model is kind of unified. It is the same. It is just that how you're going to enrich the results of the model with the much needed domain knowledge. The domain knowledge is going to be different in my identity and access management solution versus the domain knowledge in my monitoring system. So
Right.
there's a lot of enrichment of domain knowledge that can possibly done in the post processing part. This would help in unifying you. You can kind of ensure you're using the same model throughout. You don't do a lot of repetition. You don't over engineer. You kind of have the baseline model set, but you improve the accuracy. You make it much more relevant by enriching it with domain knowledge.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I think when you say the baseline, the bulk of the model kind of remains the same, but the top layer, gets more specialized. I think our leaders will kind of relate this kind of domain enrichment with retrieval augmented generation, I guess, where you're kind of pulling in, domain specialized knowledge and making more intelligent responses. So
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So especially in LLMs, you have. I mean, LLMs. We would suggest having. We would prefer calling RAG as a sort of output engineering. You have the output from the LLM. It's also about how efficiently are you re-ranking your results to
yeah,
ensure relevant result presented to the user. So it's not just you throw an LLM at the problem or you throw a common model at the problem. It's also about how much technological work you're doing to enhance the results and to give improved accuracy.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's not like you have, one. It's not like a one size fits all approach really. That you have a generic solution to every problem. So that totally makes sense. Thank
Yeah,
you for that insight, Sujata. Yeah.
thank you.
So in the context of say enterprise success, where do you see the biggest wins from AI in IT ops right now? Some of the CTOs that I've talked with, spoken with, they had to talk. They had things to say about reduced downtimes. Some said faster ticket resolutions were key, and the others were all about cost savings. So are there any specific KPIs, any metrics, perhaps from your own work in IT administration tools that you find really highlight the ROI of AI in operations?
Absolutely. Like what I would suggest is it's everything. How much of ROI you see is going to be proportional to how digitally mature the organization is going to be. So when you're getting started on the AI journey, I would suggest look at some key point metrics. So you're putting AI in your IT operation, see if your MTTR is coming down, your mean time to respond is coming down. If you're plugging in AI in the help desk system, see if you're able to handle much more tickets in a day. Now, how much of percentage increase are you seeing? That's going to be dependent on how digitally mature. So let's take an example. Typically in enterprises, you see this interdepartmental digital divide, I would say. So you
Yeah,
call facilities team and you would say that, hey, lighting in my location is not working or AC in my location is not working. But you would typically email the finance team and say, I have some doubts about the payroll or some flexible benefit plan or whatever. Tomorrow, if you want to have a predictive dashboard or AI powered dashboard for analytics to kind of forecast how much of procurement should I do, how much of electrical supply should I procure to ensure there is no outage of services in my facilities department, if you've not even recorded the conversation or you don't have a digital trail of the conversation that you had with the facilities team, this is not going to be possible to have AI powered analytics the very next day, right? So
yeah,
it's important you have a basic process automation in place. So let's say you call the facilities team. Good idea to have a voice to text model that will kind of transcribe the data. You have the data. Now that you have data in the digital format, you can always have an AI model coming in, doing in some forecasting, giving you a summary of what the call is. Let's say if it warrants the need for a ticket to be raised, you can have an automation in place, or you can even have an agent kind of raising a ticket in your help desk software. So only if this basic automation, the process automation, data streamlining is done, can you actually see visible results in your KPIs that will eventually tie into your ROI.
yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Again, that's kind of largely as you said, use case specific and industry specific, because it all really boils down to what it is that you're really trying to do, what it is that you're trying to optimize. So Sujata, I am really curious. We hear a lot about agentic AI. In fact, one of the recent features that I had the opportunity to go through, one of your features in a leading daily talked about your thoughts on agentic AI, and that got me really excited. AI systems that can really autonomously make decisions with minimal human intervention, if at all, and kind of take actions, without constant human prompts. So these are truly intelligent agents that we are talking about. So what potential do you see for agentic AI in the enterprise specifically? Also, especially in the cybersecurity and IT ops. Can you imagine, for instance, let's say an autonomous digital security analyst that hunts threats, down and initiates defenses all on its own, an IT assistant that kind of self-optimizes infrastructure. How far are we, from that reality at this stage, talking about 2025, where truly autonomous agents are even a reality? And what are the biggest hurdles, and I'm talking of ethical considerations or technical considerations that we need to address before we can, really trust these AI agents with such autonomy?
Absolutely. So agents are going to be the way forward soon. Gradually, now that systems are opening up, you'll have agents. In fact, you'll have agents, multiple agents talking to each other, communicating, and doing the decision automation. Let's probably take an example in this case. Let's say there's a system which in a healthcare industry, people log in every day in the system. Given the state of digitization, even though we say a lot of them are security aware, privacy aware, the the security awareness is still catching up. So not every employee is going to be digitally aware. Let's say potentially there's a phishing link that masquerades as a genuine login link. People might not be aware. And today's phishing links, I mean, I'm sure you've seen, they brilliantly masquerade as
Yeah,
the pages. The layout is picture perfect. The logo is perfect. Only if you take a close introspection on the URL. In fact, the URLs are so intelligently fished. There's probably hardly a difference. Instead of O, they'll probably replace with a
yeah,
zero. In place of A, there's the Latin A that comes in. So unless or until you have vigilant eyes, it's going to be difficult. Now let's take in the scenario there's a phishing link that's masquerading as a genuine login link. You could have an agent up and running that can continuously profile the kind of links that you're visiting. It can, and then let's say you open a phishing page, it can immediately throw you an alert that, hey, it's probably a phishing page. You might want to have a vigilant stance before you enter credentials. So and let's say the next level of defense, in case the phishing link kind of masquerades and it kind of goes by. The next stage is where you can, and the employees has actually entered their credential, and then data, the malicious attack is trying to ingest malware and is trying to create havoc in the system. You can have the next level of defense from agents in the UEMS, endpoint management suite. They can kind of constantly figure out if it's a genuine application that's been installed, or if it's a malware that's kind of creating the havoc. They do this with an AI powered defense, because if it's a genuine application, it'll just try to install and not much. If it's a malware, it's probably going to create havoc. It's going to corrupt your files. It's going to corrupt your boot system, try to exfiltrate data. So you see, at every stage you have agents which can auto. So in case if it finds out that agent finds out there's a malware that has been infested in the system, the agent can automatically raise a ticket in the help desk software and say, hey, there's a probable attack in this system, good to quarantine it, raise a ticket, ensure the severity is set to the highest level. And the agent can ensure it is assigned to an agent whose expertise matches with the attack that has happened. So we see there's a lot of intelligent decisions that the agents are taking, coupled with a lot of domain knowledge of each product.
yeah, wow. Yeah, that thanks for drawing that picture. In fact, that all, while that makes me optimistic on a lot of different points, puts my mind at ease. There's an agent that's kind of protecting me, on the fly from all of these sophisticated social engineering attacks that are happening all the time. It also makes me think, Sujata. So you said, these agents are working at many different levels. It's really very multimodal that way. They're scanning my CPU usage. They're scanning my hard drives, even my boot systems, to see if there's anything wrong, anything unexpected that's going on. It's not just a DNS level filtration system. It's going much beyond that, to kind of spread its presence everywhere to see what's wrong, to kind of detect that attack surface. So when that happens, there's a slight chance of that AI agent itself getting rogue. So because they're so intelligent, that kind of also raises concerns about unpredictability. So how do we ensure that accountability and control, because we're handing out so much power to these agents? So for example, if an AI agent makes a decision that let's say causes business disruption in the course of stopping an attack, or maybe reconfiguring a system, so who is really responsible in that case, and what governance or let's say safety frameworks would you recommend that enterprises should allow for, so that innovation in autonomous AI takes place at the same time managing risks in the most efficient manner possible?
Absolutely. So, like we were saying, agents do a lot of decision making. We would say agents need to have a privacy, trust, and data access layer pre-designed, well configured, that is in line with the organization's policies. So, for example, let's say there's an agent in my payroll system. I should be only able to query data. I should be only able to query my data. So, let's say you and I have a designation of SDE1. I should be able to query only my, my basic salary, what is my HRA, and so on. I shouldn't be able to ask any questions about your data. Similarly, there shouldn't be any indirect questions that kind of, access your data too. So let's say there's a question that I ask, what is the average salary of SDE1? If I have to compute average, it means I'm indirectly accessing your salary details too.
Yeah.
So in such cases, it's important to have the data access permission set for the agents very clearly. So how we handle this in ManageEngine is that we have a concept called Zoho directory, which kind of sets the boundary for data access, the roles, the security posture for the organization. So when the data access and security roles are very clearly set, you can be very ensured that it is only this data that the agent has access to. So if I'm interacting with the agent, the boundary, the data access is very clear. It is only my data. Even if there's an indirect question coming in, because you don't even have access to the data, you won't even get answer to the question. So when you ensure the data aspect, the privacy aspect is set clearly, you can thwart a lot of problems that could potentially come with AI agents going rogue.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of like sandboxing the agent, so it stays within its within its limits, that walled garden that you built. So the agent is free to roam that territory, but the moment it tries to step out, you kind of automatically know.
Absolutely, especially when you sandbox the data permission and privacy layer, it kind of ensures you don't have any problems in the future.
Yeah, yeah. And in industries such as BFSI or in healthcare, I mean, those are the high stakes industries really, but they're heavily targeted by cyber threats. And that's also why they're so tightly regulated. So how are these industries leveraging AI, in ways that might differ from others? For example, do you see, agentic AI having specific implications in these industries? Are banks trying to use AI to, kind of not just detect fraud, but also prevent it in real time? Or how is healthcare using intelligent systems to secure electronic health records, while also simultaneously improving care delivery, because that's paramount? So I'm curious to see if you see any domain specific trends for BFSI and healthcare, because I know those are also your expertise areas. And what do you think, if there's anything leaders in these sectors should really do differently if they want to succeed with their AI deployments?
Absolutely. So these are very critical sectors where you can't really have room for false positives. As in, you can't say someone is committing a fraud and block the transaction. It's not
Yeah.
possible. Block something, it's going to have repercussions. So in such sensitive, one is like we were talking about these sectors being very sensitive, very high stakes sector. It's important the AI models or the AI partners whom they partner with, they're also compliant to a lot of privacy laws. For example, healthcare, you have the HIPAA laws being there. In BFSI, again, RBI has a lot of regulations that you have to be compliant to. So in eKYC, also you have a lot of guidelines that RBI has. How much of data can you persist? How long should you persist? When should you periodically delete? So there are a lot of these privacy laws that not only as a software vendor that someone caters to, it's also the AI models that have to cater to. One. And two, about how different or what is that extra thing that they have that is very paramount here. I would say enrich, like I was explaining previously, it is about enriching the AI's results with domain knowledge. Let's take an example here. Let's say the BFSI sector is using AI to kind of detect financial frauds. let's say usually transactions worth thousands happen, and all of a sudden there is a transaction worth of lakhs that has happened. Anomaly detection here will tell you that this is an anomaly because it's a huge deviation from the baseline normal. But can you just go by the AI's result and block the transaction? No. I would say enrich this with domain knowledge. Go back to your core banking system. So, for example, RBI has this regulation in case you have a check that you're writing. If it is, I think if it is more than 50,000, you have to make an entry in the positive pay system. Now, let's say they have written a check for 1 lakh. The usual transaction is around 30,000, 40,000, but suddenly 1 lakh transaction goes on. And anomaly detection is telling you that it is an anomaly here. Now go back to your core banking system. Use your domain knowledge. See the type of transaction. If it is the transaction that has happened via check, see if there's an entry in the positive pay system. If it says if it is an entry in the positive pay system, you can't block it because the positive pay system itself is where the customer goes and tells the bank that authorize this transaction. It is me who's doing this. So this way you have your AI helping you catch those anomalous events, but although you ensure it is very relevant so that you're coupling or you are enriching with your domain knowledge. So
Yeah.
this way you have very relevant results. In case this was one good scenario where the customer had made an entry in the positive pay system. If not, you always have AI. Let's say in your core banking system there is no entry of positive pay. The customer has not informed their manager that some transaction like this is going to happen. Such a positive thing for AI to be here because it would have told you right away that it's an anomaly, and you can probably call the customer and say, hey, something like this is going to happen. Do you want to cancel the transactions? So it's like
Yeah.
a beautiful fence that AI is weaving.
Also very, very proactive. So customers are, able to respond to it differently as compared to maybe, say, 10 years ago.
Absolutely, yeah. Instead of actually letting the transaction happen, then customer raising it as a ticket, escalating it to the RBI ombudsman. So it's a huge process. It's a pain. So here you have AI giving you the defense, and also you're enriching your domain knowledge, so you can be sure that the predictions are much more relevant.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And so coming, stepping now into the boardroom, Sujata, many organizations, do these pilot projects, AI pilot projects that, show promise, but then they struggle to translate that into, board level decision making, or when it comes to full production deployment. So based on use cases that you've led, what are the factors that you think make a real difference between, let's say AI proof of concept and a real business game changer? I mean, it is about demonstrating quick wins, or is it about aligning with the business KPIs, or I mean, what exactly is it? And what advice do you have to ensure that AI initiatives, do actually end up influencing these strategic decisions and outcomes rather than just being, lab science experiments?
Absolutely. So we do see a lot of projects there in the POC stage or something. The
Yeah,
thing what matters when you take from the labs to production is that, like I was saying, it's about if you I would just say if you're just getting started on AI in your journey, start small, go for the low hanging fruits where you can see a visible result. So instead of just having AI automating the entire business flow, start slow. Let's say if you're looking to start incorporating AI in help desk, see if you can have a sentiment analysis model, telling you what the tone of the customer is. Have a summarization model that will kind of give you the entire summary of the ticket instead of someone having to sit and read the entire conversation. So with such small initiatives, you can actually you can see visible results on how efficiently AI is helping you. So when you start small, you target the low hanging fruits. You can have that expertise built up on how AI is helping your industry. This will also help you pave the path forward on what to do next. Instead of just starting, I'm going to use AI to automate the entire workflow. You start small. So if you're planning to start your AI journey in the ops segment, start with anomaly detection. See if you're able to find out real-time anomalies of your page time loads, or if you're able to forecast how much traffic you can expect based on 1 week's traffic. Let's say you're planning to host a sale in the month of December. See if you can forecast your traffic based on last 6 months data, or based on the data that you hosted in the previous year's sale. So with such, small use cases, when you start, you have very visible output that you see. This way you can ensure whatever is there in the POC stage actually goes into production too.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Now
And
have this setup, you can always, march ahead in your AI journey.
keep improvising, but at least you kind of get your feet into the water. You
You
kind of
keep
get started.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, that's the conversation that that is very frequently happening. In fact, the other day I was speaking with someone and they were saying, they were going all in on LLMs and on agentic AI, and then finding troubles later down the line. So I think this advice of kind of starting small and then gradually building systems up, is a very pragmatic way of approaching things, especially in a space that's changing so fast.
Absolutely. And in fact, I would say don't go by the hype just because something is at the trend right now. So we were
Yeah,
talking about LLMs are very useful, not undermining their capabilities, but not everything is an LLM problem too.
yeah.
So anomaly detection, forecasting, these are like classic examples where your good old statistical machine learning would help. Just because LLM is at the hype, you don't need to throw LLM at every problem of yours. So
Exactly, exactly.
go by the hype, go by the tech set, by the technology that's actually fruitful.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yes. And in one of your thoughts earlier, you also pointed out to that human oversight. When we were talking about banking, when we were talking about the finance industry. So I mean, considering you've been leading AI initiatives for more than a decade now, you have real on ground experience with AI ops, with cybersecurity. So we kind of often focus on tech, but what about that human side of adopting AI? You pointed that out. How do you kind of foster a culture of innovation and learning on your team, especially considering how fast AI is changing by the minute? So, for example, how do you encourage experimentation with new techniques? And you already know, some are bound to fail. So, how do you do that? How do you experiment more freely? How do you build that innovation culture while also kind of maintaining that reliability and accountability that's required in security operations? Because cybersecurity is different that way from other fields. And any lessons that you've learned about building those people capabilities alongside the technical capabilities in the AI era?
Absolutely. I think I would owe this to the company's culture. So at ManageEngine, the culture has been always towards, getting the deep technical know-how. It was not always about, you build something, you do it. It's about you gaining the long-term knowledge. I think it has directly transitioned into how I built the AI team for security here too. So the goal was more about get the deep technical know-how. It's okay. You would have 10 paths. You might just go down path number one. You might fail there. The actual solution would be path number seven. But just because you failed in those six paths doesn't mean you took the wrong route. You had a lot of learnings from path one to six. You might not directly use it in path seven, but down the lane, when you go ahead in some other task, you will have the learnings from your past being extremely helpful. So this is something that I think the company's culture also resonates, and that has been there in the AI team too.
Yeah. And as you said, those six parts that really didn't work, that they're not really six failures, kind of more like six ways that didn't really succeed, or six ways that taught you, something unique about what works, what doesn't. So just a change in perspective is perhaps what we need.
Absolutely, and especially in security, I would say it's not about knowing what to do. It's also about knowing what not to do. This what
Yeah.
not lesson actually comes from the six paths that actually failed. So when you probably approach path number eight, you know what not to do. So you
Yeah.
have better outcome there.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a key insight. It's, I mean, all the more important in cybersecurity, really, what not to do is often more important than what you ought to be doing. So
Yes.
that completely makes sense. And for a CIO or a board member, Sujata, who's listening to this, who's concerned about security and also about who's also excited about AI's immense potential, what would your advice be to ensure that they can confidently say at some point down the line, yes, we are secure and we are AI ready? Or I can put it in this way: what should top executives today be doing to kind of bulletproof, future proof their cybersecurity in the age of AI? Uh, are there any mindset shifts or strategic priorities that you would recommend so that an organization not only survives but really thrives on the upcoming changes in this area?
Absolutely. So I think the more important mindset is that security is no more a checklist. I mean, just one tick off. It is
Yeah,
about a continuous process. So it's an evolving process. You have to be at it. It's not like you brought a piece of you brought an antivirus software or you brought a security solution, installed it, good to go. No, there's a concept like how we usually patch our operating systems. It's important to have your basic security posture in place. Be follow the good security practices, frequently patching your software. And in fact, like they say in security, it's a human who is the weakest link. No matter how much of you know
yeah,
latest softwares of you brought or how much of AI poster you have, it's also important to constantly have your employees be updated with the latest security practices so that you kind of fix that weakest link in the chain. And the general good security practices, once they keep adhering, that should pave the initial base for the security posture. And now that organizations are also realizing, you kind of adopt AI for your defense, you can ensure you have a good security posture to defend against attacks.
yeah, yeah. And as you said, it's kind of like, the weakest link in the chain. So you may have the top of the line, infrastructure in terms of AI and cybersecurity, but all it takes for everything to go down the drain is for, you know, uh, an employee clicking on the wrong link and everything, goes puff. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And and what would be, one specific strategic advice that you would offer a C-suite executive, say one of your peers, who's looking to significantly enhance their organizational cybersecurity posture, through AI in let's say the immediate term, 6 months to 12 months, the coming 12 months. What's the one thing, that they absolutely must prioritize over everything else?
So I would say getting started on the AI journey, the data streamlining, process streamlining, automation. These three, if they are configured, you can be ensured that you have a good digital maturity. And the more digitally mature you are, the better AI adoption or AI maturity you can see in your organization. So people might think these are some very trivial things. They might brush it off, but no. Only if your basic automation is in place can AI actually come in, mine those frequent patterns, give you those predictions, the proactive predictions. So if you have these three in place, these three will be the pillar for digital maturity, and this will again talk about how AI mature you'll be.
Yeah, yeah. And we also talked about compliance a while ago, Sujata. And
Yes.
I see that your expertise, really extends deep into compliance law and, global policies. So for a global enterprise, that's kind of attempting to implement the newest AI in a very secure manner. How do you reconcile that, those evolving regulatory landscapes with the need for agile AI development and deployment? So can you offer us a strategic anecdote, maybe from your experience, where the team kind of navigated a complex compliance requirement and that eventually led to a stronger, more agile, more innovative AI security, solution rather than just, kind of stifling it?
Absolutely. In fact, at ManageEngine, what we do to ensure we are compliant with all the laws, being AI compliant with the laws too, is that uh, we've always taken privacy and compliance as the first. It's not like you have privacy and compliance coming in after all your development is over. It's
Yeah,
important, and compliance aspect is like woven right from step one. So when you get started off in a journey, think about what data you'll collect, where you're going to store it, how long are you going to store it? You have to anonymize it to ensure you're compliant to the local laws. Ensure the privacy and compliance aspect is woven right in step one, so that when you build a model, if your data architecture is going to be clean, your I mean invariably your AI is going to be compliant to the privacy laws, right? At the end of the day, the privacy law states, I mean, every other privacy law, be it GDPR or DPDP that's coming in India, it's more about user consent, user privacy, data exclusivity. So whatever data I'm using for me should stay exclusive to me. The model should stay exclusive to me. So at ManageEngine, we've ensured this happens even before privacy became a thing. So the models are like the data that's used to build a model stays exclusive to that user. There is no cross user or cross organization data sharing. So when you ensure all of this is woven right from step one, you can have a hurdle free approach to adoption.
Yeah. And as you said, it's kind of building privacy into it's into the models themselves. So it's like privacy by design, and privacy not being an afterthought that way. So it's integrated into the very fabric of everything that you're doing. Right from the baseline models to everything that goes on top to domain enrichment. But Sujata, I'm just curious. So I mean, cybersecurity being a very specialized domain as it is, and I mean, AI is all about data. It's any AI system in the world is only as capable as the data that you're actually feeding into it. And businesses are often very skeptical, especially in the cybersecurity domain, about feeding data into the cloud, because if you're using a public API, a public model such as chat GPT, you're kind of sending off company proprietary data into public cloud. So what are your thoughts on that? How can someone make use of the big AI models out there while still kind of resting their privacy and security concerns? What's the best way to go about it, really?
Absolutely, their concerns are actually valid, right? That it's the enterprise data that's going out that is kind of the base of every business. So at ManageEngine, what we do is, like I said, we always believe in taking the long-term approach. We in fact own the entire stack. So right from the hardware, the bare metal, to the apps, the microservices. In fact, the AI models, everything here is built in house, and everything is hosted on our own data center, which is owned by us. And because we are compliant to all the most of the privacy laws out there, the local privacy laws guideline, you can be ensured that you have an AI vendor, I mean, ITSM vendor or a IT management vendor who's compliant to the laws. And because the data is in our I mean, the data resides in our data center, we have complete control on the kind of data that goes into the system. In fact, at ManageEngine, what we do is, the more I mean, we understand enterprises by nature will not have that huge of data that we see in the B2C segment. One, because enterprises have to be compliant to the privacy laws, so that the availability of data itself is going to be scarce. So what we do is we focus on specialized model training techniques like few shot, transfer learning, etc., where we kind of train the models to work even on low data setting. And
Yeah.
we kind of ensure the models come with an explanation. So this low data setting, this privacy by design, and the model explanations, they kind of help enterprises shed their inhibition on what happens if the data is going to kind of be compromised. So because there's a lot of privacy by nature, that I mean privacy by design, that is adopted at ManageEngine, we're able to offer a better AI adoption to the enterprises.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, sounds good. And yeah, and Sujata, so I mean, you've had an inspiring career trajectory. I mean, 10 years, kind of seeing AI, grow from narrow AI to kind of the future-ready enterprise solutions that we are beginning to witness now. Um, so looking back, is there a personal anecdote that you'd like to share, a personal story that that you hold very close to heart? I'm sure there'll be many stories, of course, but we'd like to take a sneak peek on a fundamental lesson that you've learned about, let's say, any thoughts you have on organizational readiness, that's required to successfully productionize AI for enterprise security, or any specific project that you very fondly remember and that you'd like to share with our listeners.
Absolutely. So I think one of the early projects of AI was putting AI in the monitoring space, AI ops space. And when we started off, we had the anomaly models, forecasting models, and so we were looking at a few episodes of data and trying to find out if there's an anomaly or something. And I think there were those surge of anomalies initially. And we actually had people saying, how do I turn this off? We were like, oh my God, if I put an AI feature, it should have been useful. But people are coming back and asking, how do I turn it off? But then later, when we started educating enterprises on how much of I mean, the more the merrier, and the model is only going to be as capable as the data that it is powering. So there was a lot of initial adoption. There was a lot of education that has to, I mean, educating of customers that had to be done, which we thought was, I mean, being in the technical background, we kind of thought, okay, but it was a lesson learned that, it's also about how much of value add on, how much of, relatability that enterprises have. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with us, Sujata. Anything else, any closing notes that you'd like to, make before we wrap this conversation?
Yeah, I think this was a very good conversation with you, Devang. Thank you. So I think in summary, I would say It's a crucial time that we are in, where there's a lot of emphasis on security and privacy. So it's good for enterprises to kind of have security at the forefront rather than just have a good to have, and ensure they have the basic process automation, data automation, basic automations in place, so that you can be much more digitally mature for you to speed up your AI maturity and AI adoption process. And once that is done, yeah, you should be good to go in all the AI options across your suites.
Thank you so much, Sujata, for all of those insights. It's been a very, very insightful conversation. Got to learn so many things from you, and I hope our listeners also kind of enjoyed the conversation as much as I have. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you again very soon. Thank you so
Sure.
much for your time.
Thank you, Devang. It was a lovely conversation that I had with you. Looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you.